Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please bring up to the stage Mr. Bill Farmer.
There we go. Is this going to switch? There we go. Can you hear me okay? Well, happy 4th of July. How are you? Gosh, that's great. Well, this is fun. I'm glad that you came today, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have about how I got started. Anything Disney, anything Warner Brothers, anything animation. Can answer all of your questions, and we'll get going here. If any of you have questions, I think they have some microphones somewhere around here.
I'm over here with the microphone. We're going to line them up on this aisle. I'm only asking questions until I get a line. So, guys, don't feel like you're interrupting me.
Yeah, come on up and feel free.
I have to do this all day long.
We're here to answer everything you need to know about show business.
We'll start with the most basic, reoccurring question. Which is your most favorite character to do?
Oh, gosh. Well, I started off as an impressionist.
Is it for artistic reasons, or they were just the best paycheck?
There's different reasons. There's different answers for each. For monetary reasons, it's definitely Goofy. Because I've done Goofy for probably over 3,000 different projects for Disney in the last 27 years. Everything from one of my first movies, A Prince and the Pauper, to which was a theatrical short. Also the first movie that I got to see in a theater with a live audience, so you get to actually see your performance, which is rare for us. To a Goofy movie, which is probably one of the most best known, and the first time actually any of the Fab Five, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Minnie, and Donald, I guess, or let me see, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and Pluto, and I'm two of the five. So first time any of them got to star in a full-length feature film, so I'm very honored to get a chance to do that. But, gosh, yeah, Goofy, he was my favorite and still is. Very rare to have a cartoon character that has as long a lineage as Goofy. He goes back to 1932, and I took over in 1987 and have been the exclusive voice ever since. And, yeah, Goofy be very, very good to me. I'm very happy for Goofy. Of other voices that I do, I started when I was a kid, actually doing voices. When I was a kid, there were a lot of westerns on television, and the movies, of course. I grew up in a small south central town, Pratt, Kansas, where there was one movie theater, and on Saturday morning there was just 3 channels, black and white channels, and I would turn the TV tuner back and forth between different channels. And around my house, it usually sounded like, "Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat."
"Yes, Inspector, Dudley do right to the Mounties. Where's little Nell?" "Hi, Kermit the Frog here. Where is Miss Piggy?"
And then my parents would turn the set on, It was like and so I was a strange kid, but,
Billy's weird. Our Billy's strange. He's doing weird voices.
And but I guess one of my favorites, to answer the question, is I used to do a voice of a character whose last movie was a Goofy movie, an actor named Pat Buttram, who played Mr. Haney on the old Green Acres series, and had a voice that was kind of like this. And I always run around and doing that kind of thing. Them sidekick kind of voices are always a lot of fun to do. And I finally got a chance to meet with him, and we got to sit around for about an hour before he went in to do his lines over at the Disney Studios. And he was 84 years old, and I'd done his voice for years, and I finally got a chance to meet him, and he was such a great old guy because he would tell us jokes. He was working out material. He actually was going to do the night I met him, he was doing a tribute for Jack Palance. And he says, "Bill, I want to try a joke out on you, see how you like this. I'm going to go up there and say, Jack, you're an amazing guy. You're like 85 years old, and you was out there on the Oscars doing one-arm push-ups, and Father Time has been very kind to you, but it looks like Mother Nature done kicked the hell out of your face." So he was working his material out on us in the studio. And he was a delightful old guy. And so probably of all the voices I've done over the years, just for fun, you know, it's Pat Buttram, and for money, definitely Goofy.
What does the future actually hold for you in terms of movies and projects?
I'm sorry I couldn't quite catch that.
They're opening right up with spoilers. What do you got that's coming out next?
Oh, gosh. Well, actually, Monday, I have a new series that is starting on Disney XD. It is called the 7D, as in Seven Dwarves. It's not the traditional Seven Dwarves. It is kind of a reinvention of the Seven Dwarves. Even though Steve Stanton, who plays in the new series, he is playing Sleepy. In the traditional dwarves, he is Happy's voice. So they aren't the same voices. In the traditional voice, I'm Sleepy whenever they need those characters. In the new series, I'm Doc.
And Doc kind of has well, he's kind of the inventor of the group.
And there's no Snow White in this series, so it's kind of like in a parallel universe, but it has a tremendous cast, one of the top, my powerhouse cast. If you know voiceover actors, we have, of course, Maurice LaMarche, Billy West, Steve Stanton, Scott Menville, D. Bradley Baker, Kevin Michael Richardson, and we have Jess Harnell and Kelly Osbourne in her first series is playing two of the kind of the nemesis, the Glooms, who are always trying to, you know, take over Jollywood, and you know, I play actually Doc and also another dog, Sir Yips-a-Lot. So I always seem to get Disney dogs, Goofy, Pluto, now Sir Yips-a-Lot. And that's coming up. We have been recording some on the third installment of the Kingdom Hearts games, and I'll be going back from time to time to add more lines to that. They're a lot of fun because they're originally produced in Japan, so it's the only project where I go in and I'm actually translating it back into English. And I am hearing in my headphones the Japanese Goofy, which is really weird because it's like I'm hearing in my headphones, oh, doishi mai gacho, oh, ciao, you know, and I'm saying, Gorge, come on, Sora, let's go, you know. And so that's a very unusual project because we're listening to it in another language. So those are a couple of things coming up, and I'm trying to think of anything else right now, but usually it's, I never know about my sessions until right before they need it. So I'll go back next week. I got a couple of jobs coming up this week doing another Mickey Mouse short. We have these Mickey Mouse shorts that you can see on YouTube, and we got a few of those coming up.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
What's the process of getting a voice right? And how many versions do you have to go through before you get it right? Thank you.
Okay, question is how many do we have, how do you get a voice right? How do you get it? Now, there's two answers to that. First of all, is it an existing character that you are doing a voice match for? For example, Goofy has been around since 1932. He was well known. He had a well-known vocal. He sounded like Goofy. When I first did the audition for that, I had to match Pinto Colvig's voice. Exactly. So in those days,
Was
of course,
Pinto the original, or had
Yes.
he matched someone?
No, he was the original. He was a gag writer and musician that worked with Walt Disney. He'd actually used that voice a couple of times before in one the Ant and the Grasshopper. It's really Goofy's voice, but so that was just one of his. He was also the original voice for Bozo the Clown, which is kind of similar to Goofy, but so I had to go in and just kind of match totally the way that he did Goofy. So for the first couple of years, it was an impression of Pinto doing Goofy. After a while, when you do a voice, you kind of put a little bit of your own spin on a voice, and it becomes kind of more your Goofy. So after a couple of years, probably started in 87, by 1989, it was kind of me, and it was so ingrained in my personality that kind of took over the voice, and then it was just, I knew how to say anything that Goofy would say in Goofy's vernacular. If you are doing a new voice, such as in the 7D, Doc's voice, all I got was a picture and some lines, some typical lines that he might say, and it was up to me to come up with a voice. You never know when you do an audition. You don't know if it's right. You don't know if it's wrong. You don't know what the people at the other end are thinking or have in mind. Sometimes they will give you a voice description. This guy kind of sounds like you know, he's older, he's an inventor, he's kind of ADD, he's kind of scatterbrained, so you might put on in the vocal characteristics a little, of course, when we go out here, we're going to take this, and he might be, oh, look, a squirrel, you know, he might be an ADD kind of character, and you can put that in. You take a cue from what the character looks like. If he's a big kind of character, you might give him a very deep kind of voice. He might be like that, you know. If he's like a, you know, monster, you might do something with your mouth to change the way that, you know, I am going to take you now. And there's always wizards and sort of like that. So you build up kind of a bag of tricks of different styles of voices. And you try each one out. You record it. You know, on your computer, and you play it back, and you look at the character, and you say, yeah, I can see that voice coming out of that character. So it's a trial and error process, basically what it is, to find a voice that fits for a character.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
I'm really glad you brought up the Kingdom Hearts franchise. How was it that they approached you to do the voice of Goofy, and how did you, like, react when you saw the script and like all the things you had to say in Goofy's voice?
Well, that certainly wasn't the first thing. Like, I've done about 3,000 different jobs for Disney over the last 27 years. So I was well acquainted with the character when we first came up with the Kingdom Hearts. It was interesting in that you went into different kingdoms where you might be Goofy appears as a turtle in the under the sea, you know, the Little Mermaid's kingdom. He would take on different costumes and a little bit different in each different kingdom.
Is there a turtle Goofy voice, or is it just Goofy
It's
wearing
it's pretty much Goofy, but with Kingdom Hearts and specifically, the main thing is when you're looking at it and you hear the Japanese Goofy saying, and I have to say the word, come on, Sora, let's go, let's get there quick. I have to do that, matching the lip flaps as close as I can from the Japanese voice into English. And sometimes it's not the same length. It might be, and it might be, come on. Well, you got a lot of extra time, so the script writers write something that will fit in that length of time, and I have to be very close. If it's like a half a second over, I have to redo it. If it's a half a second under, I have to redo it, and we do it until it fits exactly into the space that the video. It's the only thing that we're really doing when we're actually looking at the picture. Most, probably 95% of the jobs that I do, we don't have anything to look at. We just have a script. And we have to rely on the voice director to figure out exactly what where the characters are, and you have to kind of get that spatial thing in your head. Like if I'm talking to Mickey and I go, "Gosh, Mickey, how are you?" He might be 5 feet away, and the director will say, "No, he's up on a ledge about 30 feet away." Then I would have to go, "Come on, Mickey, come on, it's nice seeing you," or whatever. He's farther away. I have to raise the voice. I have to do it all in my head. Now, in the old days, we used to record with the other actors' ensemble, like a radio play. When we did Goof Troop, everybody was in the room at the same time. We did, I was responding to people. Anymore, with nonlinear editing, most of the time we are going in by ourselves. I go in at 1 o'clock and do my lines. I do a line maybe 5 times. They'll take the best one of those, and Russi Taylor, who does Minnie, does 5 times on her line, and they will marry those 2 lines together. They take the best of her lines, the best of mine, and then edit them together. I did a movie called An Extremely Goofy Movie, and where Goofy goes to college, and Goofy has a girlfriend, Sylvia, in that, who is played by Bebe Neuwirth. Bebe who was on Fraser Crane's wife on Cheers, and girlfriend on Cheers, and she was doing a play on Broadway, and I was in Los Angeles. I have never met her. I have never talked to her on the phone, yet we did a movie together, and they cut the lines together, and it sounds like we're having these conversations. So sometimes you don't even get to meet the people you're working with. It's a very odd way, and I never get to know what it's like until I actually see the finished product. And then I go, oh, that's what they meant by that. Yes.
First of all, I would like to offer you a cordial welcome to Florida SuperCon. I'm sure we are all very excited to see you.
Thanks for my first time here. Yeah, I haven't been in Miami. I have a cousin who I met who's lived in Miami since I was here in like 1960 when I was a little kid. And I met him after, 30 years or something like that, 40 years. And so I haven't been down here. It's great. It's very hot here.
One thing I wanted to ask Goofy is, we haven't heard from Max in a while. I want to know how he's doing.
Gosh, Max is getting a little bit older every day, and he's out there and he's dating and he's seeing everyone. That there Jason Marsden guy too, who hangs around with Max a lot. He's a good friend, and I still see him, but I haven't seen Max in a while.
And also, you discussed the differences in voicing for Disney and voicing for Kingdom Hearts. Aside from translating from Japanese to English, is there any, say, emotional difference between voicing a short for Disney versus voicing it for the video game? For example, spoilers, how when everyone thinks Goofy dies, is versus in Disney movies where everything's going okay, and then Kingdom Hearts, you don't really know that.
Yeah, you have to just play the scene and the director will tell us, okay, kind of make it nebulous as to whether Goofy is going to live through this or not. Whereas in a movie, the emotion drives the whole scene, basically. And when we do a video game, there's a lot of lines, and they're disjointed. It's not in a story format like it is in a movie or a television show. So we don't really get a sense of the entire scene. We don't see all the scenes. We only see the ones that we are working on. So it may be, you're in this world here. The next time we do some lines in this world, you just don't get a sense of the whole script until it's put together. And we generally don't even see the final product until it comes out on a game. And they give us a game, which is useless for me because I can't operate a joystick. So I have to get my son to do that. And, here, Dad, we'll play it for you.
Hi. This is, I guess, a little similar to the last one.
Uh-huh.
How do you approach very different versions of the same character? Like how sometimes Goofy's it would be in Playhouse Disney show or the new short or the new shorts
new
that are
shorts?
more extreme.
Yeah, it's comes down to the voice direction and what they want. In the Mickey shorts that you're referring to, which we're doing one next week, as a matter of fact. It's almost like a parallel universe. They're drawn differently. It's more in that series. He's dressed, he doesn't have pants. He's got a tail, which he's never had before. So it's kind of it is a radical departure from the way we've done it before. It's a different voice for Mickey. In the traditional Mickey, it's Brett Iwan, who took over with the late Wayne Allwine. And in the Mickey shorts, it's Chris Diatomopoulos, I think I said his name right, who's a great actor and was Moe in the Three Stooges movie a year or so ago. He's really a great actor, great guy. But in this one, we're kind of bending the rules of what Goofy and Pluto and everyone is like. For example, they make Goofy, and we've kind of given him more of a hick, a little bit more of a rural sound than he had before. And they encourage that. At the beginning, I say, why? That's not as Goofy. But says, well, this is more Dippy the Goof than Goofy. So you can kind of loosen him up there and gotta even put more of a country, gosh, howdy there, well, And he had a little bit more of a country twang than the, gosh, howdy, howdy, Hey, man, what are you doing here? It's a little bit more of a country style of Goofy. And it's to separate it between the classic Goofy and the Mickey Shorts Goofy. But every project kind of has a little different take on the character. When we did Goof Troop, that was a Saturday morning high energy project, and so Goofy's right up there and, hey, how you doing? Gorge, howdy, Pete. Very high energy, because for the little kids and stuff. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, we kind of slow it down because we're talking to 5 and under kids, and gosh, let's count to 20. 1, 2. So you do it a little slower. When we do a show for a big arena, like a Disney on Ice, we've done about 20 some of those over the years, you have to do what I call my arena voice, which is a little bit slower because you got reverb in the auditorium, and you have to hear the characters. So it's like, It's just slowed down a tiny bit. Come on, Mickey, let's go. It's a little more articulated because otherwise you're going to hit the, that kind of thing. Whereas the traditional Goofy is more swallowed in the throat and kind of a swallowed voice, and it's not as articulate in the old cartoons, and we can get away with that on television or in the movies, but not in a live setting.
Have you, in all of these 3,000 projects and dozens of directors, have you ever been asked to take them in a direction and you just had to look at the guy and go, but that's not Goofy?
In the beginning, we did. When I first got the job, because there'd be toys and they would have, Goofy saying something that wasn't really Goofy, and we had to mention, no, that's not, let me kind of, this is the way I think he would do it. We kind of had to fight for those lines. But it soon became apparent that every writer has a different take on these. Then they developed what is called Disney character voices, which takes all of the scripts that are submitted from like 9,000 licensees that can use the Disney characters. They submit what they want the characters to say to Disney character voices. They go over and change the script to make sure that, Mickey wouldn't say something that Mickey really wouldn't say, or that Goofy wouldn't say, and make sure that it fits the character. So we have the scripts already kind of fixed before we go into the studio, which makes it a lot faster for us, and we don't have to fight over this or that particular line saying Goofy wouldn't say it that way. They've already fixed it and done all of that before I get to it.
Hi, I have sort of an actor's question. As far as your educational background, did you have to learn, did you learn phonetic alphabet? Do you use that in your work? And also, what's the best way for aspiring voice actors to get into that audition room?
All right, that's kind of two characters. Did I really train for it and use, what did you say, the phonetic alphabet and stuff? Yeah, it depends on the character again. My training was, I went to the University of Kansas. My degree was in broadcast journalism. So for a number of years, I kicked around as a DJ, one of those great kind of AM DJs and stuff like that. And that's where I started developing a lot of the characters, because I could do anything in that realm that I wanted to. They say, play about 4 of these out of this box of 45s every week. Do the commercials and do what else you want to do. So I was able to come up with characters, and I would do, we'd have a rock and roll show, and I'd do Wolfman Jack. Oh, baby, we're going to be playing, dusk from dusk till dawn right there, baby, right here on the Wolfman Show. I didn't know there was anything like a copyright on his voice or something. We'd, Wolfman's on our show. That's great. So I'd start talking to myself and coming up with characters, and I'd bring in characters, and we'll go doing it, little old things. We're going to be selling a cow here, and just to keep myself entertained. And it kind of developed into all of these different characters. And so that training in radio was very good. I also went on to stand-up comedy, which was, and I did about 5 years of stand-up comedy in the early 80s, where I traveled, and I started about same time as like Robin Williams and all those guys doing comedy clubs, which is great training because it's in front of a live audience. And when you're performing just at a studio, and there's a glass wall with some guys behind it, you don't know really how to perform something so it's funny, to get the most funny out of it or to get the emotion out of it. But live stage performing, whether it's stage or stand-up, is a great training ground for doing voices. And the second part of your question was, trying to remember what it was.
How do you get into the studio?
How do you get into the business? A lot of people always ask me that, and for the last 20 years I've produced demos for new actors, and also I teach via either Skype for people across the country, or they come to my house and I teach them. A lot of people want to do this. There's a lot of tips. Mine was kind of a very fortunate story. After about 12 years of doing stand-up and radio work, I finally, on the advice of an agent in Dallas, decided to go to Hollywood and give it a shot. I moved out to Hollywood, got an apartment. About 4 months later, my agent said, do you do any of the Disney characters? And up to that point, I'd mainly just been auditioning for commercials and, buy Coca-Cola in the six-pack today, those kind of voices. when I got the job for Goofy, they just said, do I do any of the Disney characters? And I said, well, I can kind of do a Mickey. Gosh, oh boy, and I can kind of do my Mickey. If you can do that falsetto, you're in the ballpark. And, gosh, but Goofy was always my favorite as a kid, and I just kind of had him as one of my impressions. I really didn't think about that was my big voice, or that would be my big voice. I just got a cassette of some of the 1930s cartoons, Boat Builders and Lonesome Ghosts, and the lines from that, oh, I'm brave, but I'm careful, and other lines that Goofy had said. I laid it down on a cassette tape. They sent it in with about 1,200 other people throughout Hollywood, and they, about a month later, said, hey, they'd like to use you as Goofy. And I said, well, that's great. I didn't know how big this was. And they don't put you under contract like you're the official voice from now on. It was for like one time, and I went into a studio in January of '87. I got to loop a cartoon. They used to have what was called DTV. It was like MTV did music with and I had to loop an old Goofy cartoon, which is I'm actually looking at the footage and replacing dialogue. And I think I said something like, I'll put my foot on the accelerator and I'm out of here quick. And it terrified me because I'd never been in a big studio before. I was so green, I met the guy that does Donald, who is Tony Anselmo, who is also an animator. And he was sitting there drawing Donald, just gorgeous, freehand. And I really thought to myself, well, we don't have to draw these things, do we? I was that new. I had no idea. Oh, good. I just have to do the voice because I can't draw anything. And so I got through that. About a month later, they called me in again and again and again. And a big misconception is I'm not a Disney employee. Never have been. I'm a free agent. I'm like the plumber. They got a job. I come in and I do it. I go home. And they pay me. That's the way it still is. That's the way it's always been. For a newcomer coming into the business, what they have to have is a demo tape, first of all, that will show several things: professionalism, your voice variety, what kind of voices you do. The best way to get a template for that, or what people are doing, is to go to a place called voicebank.net. All the agencies in the United States are in there. All of their demo tapes are in there. You can click on them at your leisure and just listen to everybody's demo so you can see what you're up against. And your tape, your demo has to compete with those, because you will be up against these guys. And now with the celebrities getting involved, I'm against Robin Williams and Tom Hanks and everybody else when I am up for a new project, and all of the great voiceover actors who are also auditioning. So the first thing is to get a demo tape that reflects your talent in about a minute and a half. You have to get an agent in Los Angeles, is where most cartoons are. You can do it from across the country, but they really like you to be located in LA, because they need you. If they say, we need you there at 2 this afternoon, you got to be able to get there, or it becomes a disadvantage. So you have a demo, you have to have the talent, you have to have perseverance. Training is very important, because a lot of people don't think it's just if you have a great voice that you're going to be a great voiceover talent. It's not true. It's like giving someone a guitar doesn't make them, that's a great instrument, doesn't make them a great guitarist. You have to learn your instrument, your voice, and how to act. When I first came to Los Angeles, I took classes from the great Dawes Butler, who was the voice behind all of the great Hanna-Barbera characters. Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Snagglepuss, hey, boo-boo, and all of these great characters. And he told me that you're not someone just doing funny voices. You are a character that has that particular voice. Work on the acting. Acting lessons are important. That's why stage acting is very important. That is why anything in front of a live audience is very good. It keeps you to work, it helps you get to work on your feet. It helps you, get into a character, and you get that instant feedback from an audience, and you know how you're doing. Because an audience in a comedy club will let you know very quickly if you ain't funny. So it can be very brutal in the beginning, let me tell you that. So, demo. letter of introduction. You can send them up from across the country to Los Angeles. If an agent takes you on, then you should be, you could do it from here, say, and do, with ISDN lines and studios here. You could do it from here. Tom Kane, who is a great voiceover character, voiceover actor, lives in Kansas City, and he does most of his stuff from his home studio. It's not, but when you're beginning, you really need to be close by to the Los Angeles market. Those are probably the biggest things that an actor needs to know, and a lot of luck too, because perseverance will give you opportunity, and opportunity plus your hard work will help land you that first job.
Thank you.
It's from the town, the dreaded sundown. Anyone with a chainsaw I listen to. Yes, sir. What can I help you with, sir?
Hello. How do you mentally prepare before each recording?
I drink a lot. No, Horse keeps me goofy. No, you just kind of have to. It's like going on stage. You kind of have to put your problems aside, concentrate, hyper-focus on what you're going to do. It's always good to warm up your voice, so when I go to a session, I'm always singing along with the radio just to kind of get the motor warmed up, as it were. If you go into a studio with a very cold, unrehearsed voice, and they have you do a lot of, like if I'm doing Pluto, which, and I have to do that for an hour, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be sounding like the Godfather, going to rip your chords. And sometimes that happens, especially with video games. You have a tendency to save for the last day all the screaming and stuff. I was doing a video game where, one of the directions was, okay, the zombie has ripped your arm off and now he's beating you with it. And you got to, scream as loud as you can and do that for about 45 minutes, to get an idea of what it can do to your voice. It's always good to warm up your voice, but generally it's just kind of, have your coffee, have fun. I find that if you have fun, you'll make other people have fun. If you go in with an attitude that the director wants you to succeed, everyone wants you to succeed, and you just go in and have fun and entertain yourself, you will entertain others. That's probably the mental place I get to. And to loosen up your voice, kind of like if you're going to jog, you're going to loosen up, stretch a little bit so you don't pull a hamstring. These are muscles too, so you got to loosen and warm them up.
Thanks.
Hello. Speaking of not straining yourself, I have these classic favorite sounds that especially Goofy has always been known for. Like, for example, the sound of him falling down a large, space or something like that.
The Goofy yell, yeah.
Yeah, and well, first of all, if you don't mind, I'd really like to hear
Okay.
that, and maybe some insight as to if you do that too much, obviously it'll strain you, but how do you prepare for stuff like that too? There's all sorts of crazy sounds.
I almost always have to do that at least once in a session, just for a library. I don't know why they just don't have me come in and do a library of these things until we get it perfectly right. The Goofy yell comes from a 1947 cartoon called The Art of Skiing, the beauty of skiing, and this wonderful, you've seen that. That was not done by Pinto Colvig. It was done by a guy named Hans Schroll, who for that cartoon was a yodeler, and he just had that yell. And they used it, and it just caught on and has been there forever since. But to do it, you have to do it very loud. Please go to the lobby.
No, I had heard about this earlier. We have a lost parent.
Oh, okay.
So Joshua Lopez, we have your parent in the lobby. Please come pick up your parent, Joshua Lopez.
Gosh, Josh, your parents they're lost. Go get them. But the Goofy yell came out of that, and I always have to do that twice for an engineer, because I say, this is very loud. And they'll say, okay, and then I do it, and they go, geez, let's turn it down. Okay, do it again. But if I can hit that note, it's usually like, there you go,
Thank
the
you.
Goofy yell.
I would like to point out that all of you were talking into the microphone at about 3 inches, and he had it down here.
Yeah, you got to work the mic here, especially when you do a loud one.
Hello.
Hi.
How did you feel when you got the act of Goofy?
How did it feel when I got the role of Goofy? Well, as I say, I didn't know how long this was going to be for. I didn't know if it was going to be for one job or 2 jobs. I never had an inkling that it would be like 3,000 jobs over a 30-year period. And so I was very ecstatic when I got that, and I told all my friends. And it's interesting, you know, because I grew up in this little town in Kansas, and so everyone was, oh, that's real good. Yeah, we didn't think you'd amount to anything. You know, you got this great character, and you got work. You know, you was Goofy. I can see why they gave you that. You know, and so it was just fun. And every day it's you know, just more and more I realize how much people love this character. And I think my biggest honor that really got to me is in 2009, they made me a Disney legend. And they took my hands, I got to put them in the cement, and they made it into a bronze plaque, which is on the Legends Plaza at the Disney Studios in Burbank. And I got my award along with Tony Anselmo, who does Donald Duck, and Robin Williams and Betty White and the Golden Girls and ours was the first live ceremony. It was in front of like 4,500 people at the Anaheim Convention Center in 2009. And I was so honored that they bestowed that upon me. And then last year I was nominated for an Emmy Award, an Annie Award, and did the Friz Freiling Excellence in Animation. I'm the only voiceover actor to get that. And I've been very honored with the support that people have given me through the years. And I think its awards are so nice because they don't have to give you those, you know, and just the fact that I've been able to entertain people over the years it's very gratifying, a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
What do you think is the difference, you know, while playing for video games or, you know, doing a regular cartoon voice? Like I heard you might be alone when you do a video game, so you can't. You any difficulty with differences or whatever?
Usually in video games, a lot of them are based on you know, military type characters or whatever. Gosh, I go back to one of my favorite games. It was one of my first ones. I did one called Sam and Max Hit the Road, which was a great thing, and I got to come up with a voice of Sam the dog. And that actually came upon in an audition. They just said, okay, what do you think this guy would sound like? Well, he kind of looks like a detective. He's got his hat on. And so I was thinking kind of Jack Webb off of Dragnet. Just the facts, ma'am. So it's based on Jack Webb, and he's kind of a wisecracking dog. The writing was spectacular. And so I kind of put a little bit of Johnny Carson and Jack Webb and put it together, and that's a completely unusable thingamabob. Come on, Max. And that was a great game. Although the studio we did in it was this terrible little thing. I was just on a studio with a microphone here, and they had a laptop with a game in it, and I would just get these. I had hundreds of thousands of lines. Did it for like 9 days, just sitting here. That's a completely unusable thingamabob. Come on, buddy. You know, and I got to do about 5 or 6 characters in that game. I was like Doug the Bullman. He kind of was stopped up, and he'd say things like, you know, why do all you squishy, poorly focused blobs say that? I think I did a walrus or a mammoth.
I'm Wally, the woolly mammoth.
You know, I did that, and I did a Yeti chief who sounded like Jimmy Stewart. Oh, that's right, Sam and Max. It's great to see you. You know? And all sorts of various little characters. That was great. I loved doing Sam. The reason I didn't continue with that is kind of the business. I'm a union actor. They took that series, they produced a cartoon series, but they produced it in Canada. Well, I can't work in Canada as a union actor, so they had to get a Canadian actor that could work up there, and non-union. Union actors generally don't work on non-union stuff. Non-union actors rarely work on union jobs. A lot of anime is unfortunately, non-union. I can't work on them. Now, the nice thing about being in the union, there are minimum wages, you get pension, you get health care, you get a lot of great stuff. The bigger houses, Warner's, Disney, are union companies, so they use union actors. If you want to work for them in your career, you have to join the union. But a lot of anime, Sean Schimmel's a great friend of mine. He does Goku on Dragon Ball Z. He was in New York. He did a lot of those in Dallas, and they only were paying him $100 or so per episode, and no residuals, nothing. So it's good to be in the union. They protect the actors a lot more. But it's that's a little different. So it's harder work for me to get work in video games because of the union thing. But in preparing for them, it's usually much tougher on your throat to do a video game. I did one, Yakuza, a few years ago, and I had like 2,000 lines. And I worked on it in Kingdom Hearts. I worked on that for like days and days of just doing lines. Destroy All Humans. I did a bunch of characters in that. EverQuest. I did about 30 characters in that over a long period of time. Whereas a television series maybe is only 40 pages, and I have like 12, 15 lines. Whereas in a video game, you'd usually have hundreds, if not thousands, of lines.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
Forgot my question.
That happens. Make one up.
Okay. How long was the process when you were playing your voice for Goofy in Kingdom Hearts?
How long did the process? Yeah. The first game wasn't too long. It was like 3 or 4 days of recording. The second game, because the first one was so popular, I did about 9 days of recording on that over about a year period. This game, I've only done a couple of days of recording thus far. I'll probably do a couple more. At least, but they're kind of streamlining. They're getting the process down so it's a little easier than it was in the beginning. So it's just a few days. It's really not that long. When you do a movie, quite often you can do all of the voices in one day. But then, or 2 or 3 days actually. A Goofy movie was different because they rewrote a lot of it, and I did it over and over, and I did about 40 days of recording on that over a 2.5-year period. Extremely Goofy movie, I did about 3 days of recording. So it totally varies. When we do a television show, we do the whole thing in about 3 hours. So it's very quick, and because they don't have the budget of a full-length feature film. So it totally varies depending on what the project is.
You discussed earlier about, including with your demo tape, the letter of introduction. And what other kind of things would you put in a letter of introduction?
You basically say that you are looking for representation. You will get a list from that place I talked about, voicebank.net. They have all the list and the addresses of every talent agency in the United States. So anyone's in Florida, I'd recommend, around here. Find out who they are, send an MP3 of your demo and a letter saying, I'm looking for representation. Hope you'll give a listen to my demo and see what you think. Don't take no for an answer, not in the beginning. In other words, if you get rejected, people will get rid of talent, what they call dead wood, people that aren't producing, bring in new actors from time to time. So if you get one no, you might wait 90 days or something, try it again. And do that with all of the different agencies around that you hear good things about that handle the kind of voiceover work that you want to pursue. And keep at it. Persistence is very important. Don't take no for an answer. If it doesn't work with one agency, go to another agency. Even if you're a non-union actor, you can look under a lot of different websites, Screen Actors Guild. There's different casting Frontier. There's different that always put up what they're looking voices for, and television shows as well, on camera as well. And just kind of figure out where the jobs are, and you can do a lot of that just online. And don't take no, but just, a nice, simple letter of introduction. Please listen to my demo. Let me know what you think. Follow it up in a week or so by saying, did you get my demo? What did you think? And if they say no at this time, you might ask them, what would you do to improve my chances? What do I need to improve? And they'll be glad to give you a critique saying, oh, you need a little bit more, or they have someone like you already, and so they can't use your voice. But don't take it personally, because you're just not right for them at the right moment. But if you keep at it, usually something will happen.
And also, how would you get involved with the union? Is there some sort of paperwork you fill out? Do they pick you after audition, or what?
No, it's the Union Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, which in at least Los Angeles is combined into one union now, SAG-AFTRA. There's a fee to join, and it's fairly expensive. It's like $3,000, I believe. Now, it was only like $300 when I joined back in 1900. You have to, it's kind of a catch-22. You have to have done a union job to get in the union, and they do what called Taft-Hartley you. In other words, it makes you eligible to join the union, and the first job, you can do a union job by not being a union, but I think the second one you have to have joined by then. The first one kind of makes you eligible to join the union, and the second, and from then on, you need to be a member of the union.
Yeah, Florida is a Taft-Hartley state.
It is, okay.
The specific procedure for the locals, if we were hiring, let's say, someone to replace me, they have to audition all the union people, didn't find what we wanted. They have to audition more union people. And after 2 of those, then we're allowed to go, can we look at non-unions now? Okay. And if you're in that group, you get in.
There you go. So it is a procedure. It's tough to get in, but it's what everyone has to do.
They have to prove they looked at all the union guys.
Well, you already answered my question with it. You're not the first person to mention unions this weekend, so I just wanted to verify that it was SAG-AFTRA I was mentioning.
And different states have different requirements, too.
First of all, I want to say it's awesome that you're friends with Sean Schemmel. He's great.
Oh, he is a good guy.
And second, I don't remember exactly the name of it. I don't know if anyone asked it, but the new series of like the Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
series,
Mickey Mouse shorts.
They're a little bit, I guess, what the 1930s kind of.
Yeah, they kind of have that retro look.
They got a retro look.
Flash animation, and they kind of have that 2D look, and it's a little different style.
That's what I was going to ask is how is voicing, because I don't know, I only watched a few, but Goofy seemed a little bit more aggressive. He's a little different in there.
And the first episode, he was much more aggressive anyway, where he was the kind of at a burger bar, he was like the manager. And the word when we did that was, Goofy's too mean, and it just doesn't work for Goofy. He's not that kind of a character. And they've toned him down since then. Also, he didn't seem to know Mickey and Donald when they came in and said, what are you guys doing here, And so they took that into account, and so they've kind of softened him up a little bit, and they kind of made him a trio again in the later ones where they know each other. They are, the Three Stooges. It's like Moe not knowing who Larry and Curly are. It's just they belong together, and they kind of had to refine that out. So as we progress in this series, they're kind of morphing a little bit and getting back toward the base of what these characters are. But it's a fun experiment. And they aren't going to change forever just in this series. They're still the classics, and this is kind of a little offshoot to see how it works. And they're very popular online and everything, and they're very funny. So they're fun to do, actually, because it is stretching the characters.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm a 90s baby, so the Goofy movie was like the epitome of my childhood. So
great.
It's one of my favorite Goofy projects. So I was wondering, what's your favorite Goofy project?
That actually, a Goofy movie was very special to me for several reasons. The way it came about, we had a series Goof Troop in the early 90s. The first movie from I think it was Disney Toon Studios or Movie Toon, I forgot what it was, but that did this. They did a DuckTales movie, which was based on the TV series DuckTales. They were going to do a Goof Troop movie, and we had a script for kind of the Goof Troop movie. And, you know, we recorded it, and then they were listening back, and no, I think they want to make this a little bit more of a special deal, maybe a father-son kind of thing. Just Goofy and his son were the focus then. So they didn't let, you know, Peg's wife, Peg, in it, or Pistol, who's Nancy Cartwright did her voice, weren't in the movie. And they did a lot of rewrites on this movie. Generally, as I say, it takes 3 or 4 days to record a movie and a few days of pickup lines. This one, I worked about 40-some days over a 2.5-year period from like about 1992 until about 1995 when it came out. And we redid an awful lot of things. They went through, you know, kind of voice changes and all sorts of stuff. But ultimately, I was just blown away when it came out because my son was born in '89. So he was totally confused. He didn't know if he was Max or, is Goofy my dad? What? Because people would come up, oh, are you Max? No, I'm Austin. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And he really took it seriously. We were on the Disney lot seeing a pre-screening of it, like Walt's old, you know, private screening room. And I was sitting there, and it was so, you know, it was like nerve-wracking because I was sitting next to Eisner, and he, you know, he kind of looks like, you know, like this, and you don't know if he's liking it or not, and you hope, oh, I hope you like my movie, Mr. Eisner, you know. Hello, I'm Michael Eisner. It's wonderful. Who are you? You know, that kind of thing. And we got through the movie, and he complimented me on it. And walking out of the theater, my son starts crying. And he's, what's the matter, buddy? Why are you crying? He said, well, like when Goofy went over the waterfall, I thought that was you. You know, so you're like, oh, wow. So it was a real father-son picture with me, too. So that means an awful lot to me, that particular project. Also, it's the first feature film that any of Fab Five did. I saw it in a theater with a just regular audience, so I got to see people react to it, which we never get a chance to do with something that's just on television. And so it was a very gratifying project in many ways. And it turned out great, and it was the third highest grossing animated movie in '95. It wasn't really expected to do much. They didn't PR it or much, and it did much better than it probably should have. And I'm glad so many people like that movie.
All right, you got a question?
Hey, Bill.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty great. It's nice meeting you. Sorry if I'm recording. I just want to, you know, to save it for my family because they also wanted to like see the event and they couldn't. But what I wanted to ask about is because I noticed like in the cartoon versions of the new ones, the new shorts, the Goofy that I saw, like there was one for the Halloween kind of special.
Oh yeah.
Like, when he was kind of like a zombie.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I've got one of my. I'm over at 1640. If you want to come by later, and I got a picture of Goofy as a zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, like I noticed like because it was just sound. It was just him doing sounds like something like that. And I was like, do you also record that, or they just like recycle them?
I go in and I record all of those sounds, and it's like he's running and kind of going, you know, zombie sounds and, you know, yelling and falling and stuff like that. So we definitely do the sound effects. A lot of times I do sound effects in some of the other Disney movies. And I didn't even talk about ADR, which is background voices. There's a group of us actors that add, and several loop groups that add kind of post-production vocal tracks to the movie. For example, I've been in the movie Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., Monsters University, The Lorax, Shrek, Beauty and the Beast, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Cars, all of these movies, and we add different sound effects. Like in Beauty and the Beast, we were the townspeople attacking a bunch of us do, you know, we're attacking the castle. Sometimes you get to do individual little lines. Sometimes they're sound effects. In the movie Beauty and the Beast, when Gaston is in the bar and he's like, you know, singing about decorating with antlers and all this, he takes 3 eggs and he throws them up in the air and he swallows them. Well, that's me. I'm eggs. So, Also, like in Toy Story, when they went to the Pizza Planet, I was doing the voice of the Pizza Planet mission control. T-minus 29, 28, 27, getting ready for launch. Those little incidental voices. In the movie, Bug's Life, I think I was a snail in the big. Hey, get over here! It was kind of a New York thing. In the movie Shrek 2, my son recognized my voice and I didn't. Toward the end of the movie, there was a party at the castle, and I was the announcer that said, "Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Princess Fiona and Prince Shrek." And my son goes, "Hey, Dad, that's you." And I go, "Yeah, I guess it was. I forgot." You never remember what you do on these things, so it's a lot of fun.
All right, so since nobody else asked this all day.
Yes.
And this is the question I've been waiting 35 years to ask you.
Okay.
Goofy's a dog.
Yes.
Who speaks.
Yes.
And wears pants.
Uh-huh.
Pluto's a dog.
Yes.
Who doesn't speak and is essentially naked.
Yes.
Would you please explain the Disney logic behind this?
Goofy's got a better agent. No. That is interesting. That is probably the number one question that I get.
How did we get through the whole day without that?
I know. That's usually brought up. Or how come, is Goofy a dog? What is he? Stand By Me. That movie brought it all up. No, Goofy was originally, his name was Dippy Dog. And it was spelled D-A-W-G. So I always figure he's just one branch up on the evolutionary chain, Pluto's stuck, that's all we get to do, which is incidentally much tougher than doing Goofy because you do a half hour of barking and that'll tear up the cords. But yeah, Goofy just kind of was, Mickey talks. If you really worry about the biology of animated characters, it's like, maybe you need another hobby. It's so weird. And he dates Clarabelle, so this is some interspecies thing. I don't know. It's just I get the lines, gosh, okay, I'll say that,
One of them wears a shirt with no pants.
Yeah, who knows? No pants and a shirt, who knows?
This isn't discussed in the Disney
And they all
hallways.
wear gloves. Who knows?
All right, Miami. I want to give another big round of applause for our good friend.
Thank you so much.
Bill Farmer. And let's give me my mic back. Your booth is 16 what?
1640, I believe, and we're over there. Come on over, say hi, and you've been a great audience. It's my first time in Miami at SuperCon, and gosh, thanks for coming. We'll see you real soon. Bye.